going to tell you my story. It's a little different from what other people have been doing, but before the movie Ghost made pottery a really sexy thing, I went to Delft, Holland, and I watched mesmerized as a potter took a piece of clay and made it into different shapes. And at that moment, I decided that I wanted to be a potter. So, oh, it came up already. Anyway, in 1972, when gas was 32 cents a gallon and Tupperware parties were all over the place, I was really interested in reading my National Geographics, studying Margaret Mead, and learning pottery from the natives. Well, I was hired to be the first art teacher in American Samoa. That island is 7 miles long and 1.5 miles wide, and it's 17 degrees south of the equator and near the last day on the date line. So off I went to Samoa, and also at that time, Gary Trudeau was writing a comic strip about Samoa and about this guy, Duke, who was the governor of American Samoa, not to be confused with our very own Duke, who became governor in 1975. So I got to the island, and you know, Margaret Mead never mentioned the crafts in her book, and there was a reason for that. The Samoans did not have pottery. I found that out when I got there, and I was really amazed. It was a sustainable culture, actually. So everything they needed either grew on the coconut palm or came from the sea. Their cups were coconuts, coconut shells, and their plates were banana leaves. So undaunted, it turned out that the wife of the lieutenant governor was a potter from Wyoming. And in the 70s, Wyoming is where the real potters came from. So I met her, and luckily for me, she agreed to teach me how to become a potter. And so then that wasn't what I learned from the Samoans. I learned other things. But anyway, so fast forward about 20 countries and 4 years later, and I moved to Vermont to pursue my dream as a potter. I had a retail store, then I got into wholesale pottery. I was in about 30 shops. I started doing craft fairs, about 12 a year, and really going on the road. So, and when I got really, really busy doing the production pottery, my pottery spread on every flat surface throughout my house. And it was just really, really crazy. And of course, any of my friends that stopped over are my relatives, except for my daughter. She wanted me to tell you, never broke a pot, but lots of things got broken. And when they got broken, it really hurt because, you know, I put my heart and soul into everything. I made all my own glazes. But anyway, so it turns out I never threw any shards away. And I happen to know a lot of potters, and they don't throw their shards away. So anyway, I had many studio disasters, all kinds of things that happened to me, but I kept going and going. And in 1986, I was having a time where I was going to move to Boston and change my life, but I was on the way to a craft fair. And this is my biggest disaster ever. I had packed up my car with all my new glazes and was really excited to get really good feedback. And it turned out I'm on Route 93, and there was black ice, and I was in the middle of a 60-car pileup. So this is one of the witnesses to the pileup. And it was pretty sad, but I went on. My car got totaled, by the way. And I went on to the craft fair. And then I got back to the studio, and my shard pile grew even more. So now I'm living in Boston, and I got involved in this group called Women's Caucus for Art. Well, they were having a benefit for Rosie's Place, but they only wanted wall pieces. Well, I didn't have wall pieces. I was getting into sculpture, And I had sculpture, and it started incorporating my shards into the sculpture. This piece might be called the gateway to my new shards. And anyway, so I was walking around my studio thinking, what am I going to do for this benefit? So I came to my shard pile, and I started like mixing them up and moving them around, and I said, whoa, this looks really good. I just made a whole new image. So I quickly took out like Elmer's glue and stuck it onto plywood and hung it up on the wall, and they sold it. So I said, well, you know, I like this direction. I'm going to keep going with this. So I started giving workshops. And all these potters that I knew started bringing me their broken shards. They were the most beautiful shards I ever saw. I'm really into shards. And I started running out of my shards. I started to go to yard sales and flea markets and drove my family crazy. But anyway, so about 2 years later, I get a phone call from this woman, Lynn, and she goes, oh, I bought your piece at the Rosie's benefit, and I love it, but all my shards, they all fell off the board. And I said, oh, wow, I am so glad you called, because I have been thinking about that piece, because now I know how to do it properly, so please bring it over. So she brought it over, and we became friends. And it turned out that this woman, Lynn, had had brain surgery. She had been an attorney, and she had brain surgery, and she couldn't be an attorney or drive a car or do anything. But she wanted to learn how to do mosaics. So she took my workshop. And the first night after the workshop, she came back, and she said, do you know what? I slept through the night. It's the first time I slept through the night since my brain surgery. So, I mean, it was just an incredible moment. I was so happy for her. She took about 5 more workshops. I helped her set up her own studio, which she's still doing today. And after that, I had the opportunity to work at Children's Hospital. And I was commissioned to do some big mural projects there. And we worked with children who were patients, their siblings, the parents, and other volunteers in the hospital. So what I saw happen at this time was that children just got a little bit of control over their life. You know, here they are in the hospital, and they're in a situation where they don't have control over what's going on in their bodies. But when they took that one shard and put it in place, it made them feel so good. It was like having the right answer. When they just touched color, it made them feel happy. So here they were sitting there engaged with other people and just totally forgetting about why they were in the hospital. And when that, let me move on here. So when these pieces were displayed in the hospital, they felt really good. They felt ownership. So now I started teaching people how to break things. And teenagers, young kids, older kids, adults, 85, 5-year-olds. I mean, people love to break things. So, and not only that, you know, when I had all those sad feelings about things that were broken, now I'm like, I'm really okay with it. You know, if something breaks, okay, well, this is going to look good in my next mosaic. And so when I did these community projects, people started bringing me their broken things, their heirlooms. It was their grandmother's favorite bowl, whatever. But I don't feel sad anymore because I know you're going to make it into something new. So here are a few more of the people that I work with. Some people spoke different languages, and it was a great community building project because you don't need language to do mosaics. At the Museum of Fine Arts, we worked with 740 children in 1 week. And they knew that they were making these mosaics to go into Children's Hospital, and it would make those children feel better. So when the communities get together in the libraries, in the schools, and they work on these mural projects, and then they hang them up, they feel they've made a great contribution to their school. And not only that, they get to do art. And My kids always say, I don't work, I just do art. But, you know, it is lucky for me to be an artist because it's a great thing to be. So if you have something that you really love, whoopsie, that is, whoopsie, needs repair. Well, you know, oh, by the way, mosaics is about repairing the world. Isaac Luria was a great sage from the 1500s. He was known as the mystic of Safed. And he made a metaphor for mosaics. He said, when the universe was formed, the world was a vessel, and the vessel shattered. And now we are repairing the world. And that's what mosaics does. It does it for communities as well as for people. So if you have something that is broken, just bring it to me, and we'll make something new out of it.